Hi everybody! Today is the day we have been waiting for. It is time to harvest Skelly, our cow. It's weird to say we've been looking forward to this because he is, he's grown up here and we raised him as a bottle calf, and that's the hard part about raising your own meat. But it's been a long time coming. He's gigantic and way too big and cannot live here anymore. So my husband's getting ready, and let's go say goodbye to him. It's been raining, but today it is cold and sunshiny. Oh, look how beautiful the clouds are. Hi, Skelly. You've been a pretty good boy. We'll miss you. Thank you for feeding our family. We appreciate you, buddy. On camera, you can't even tell how big he is. He's about as tall as I am. They all think I'm about to feed them. He's big, and that pretty heart on his head. Okay, now here is where I'm going to stop you. You have now seen our adorable, handsome, majestic cow. And if you do not want to hear about what it was like to harvest and butcher him, I will see you next week. This will not be the video for you. I know I do a lot of gardening content, and if you are here just for the gardening and do not want to know about raising your own meat or what that was like, totally okay. Again, I will see you next week. This is probably not the video for you. I don't have anything graphic in here, but you do see raw meat, and we talk about butchery, so I know that's not everyone's thing. And if you don't get it, that's okay. Perfectly okay. If you're new here, we have been raising our own meat cow for 2 years now, and now is finally the time that we are harvesting him. So it's been a 2-year-long project. We've done a lot of research, but in our research we did not find a lot of information about people who were doing the entire thing on their own. I know that having your own family meat cow is very common, but we couldn't really find any videos or a ton of information for people who were not like taking it to a processor, who were planning on doing all of their butchery and harvesting and everything completely themselves. So that's what I wanted kind of this video to fill that void of, to talk. So I did not film a lot of it. So we kind of have weird compilation of video from that. So I think the way that I'll lay out this video right now, I will shoot into more footage of right after my husband had kind of skinned the cow and he's hanging up and talking a little bit about that was like, and then another little clip of footage that we had from the end, just kind of from my husband's perspective about what that was like and kind of what we did. If you check below and you don't want to kind of watch all of that, I will timestamp where I start talking again, just kind of going over what we got from the cow. So here you go.
Looks pretty clean.
Yeah, you did a really good job. How long did it take to skin it?
Skinning it wasn't too bad, but like you can come here and see where like I messed up like splitting it. It's just really hard to follow straight.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad because it looks like I was still in the bone on both sides all the way down, but like right there it almost came out.
Yeah. Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut. Cut right there. Which is the next, that's the next step.
How many pounds of ground do you think it'll make?
I have no idea because the scale isn't technically like working right now.
Okay.
Because it took us so long to troubleshoot the hoist.
Yeah.
That the scale like turned itself off, and so it wasn't zeroed.
Gotcha.
So what I'll have to do is I'll end up breaking it all the way down, and then because I don't really want to lay that down, even on that tarp, I don't want to lay it down. So I'll break it down a little bit, and then lower my hams down to where the weight is off and something that I can control a little better. And then I'll turn the scale on and it'll be zeroed, and I'll get a piece by piece and add it together.
In my last video, I mentioned I took like no footage of this entire process. So what better way to start than on the last day of cow processing? Nate, in your words, how do you think this whole experience has been?
Surprisingly smooth.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. In part of the not so smooth part, the reason why all of these beef bundles, what would you call these ground beef packages? What do you call these?
Just ground meat packs.
We're doing it this way because we got sent the wrong butcher paper. So my husband had to be a little ingenious and went out and got wax paper to put in between the wrong.
They're exactly the same. They look exactly the same.
Yeah, except one is butcher paper.
One just says freezer and one says butcher. And the only thing that you would really use butcher paper for is curing hams and the first process of it, and so now we're stuck with all this and on a weekend with no place to go get what we really needed, so we made it work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only been 1 week since you killed the cow, so it's really been it's been really fast. It's gone by a lot faster than I expected. If everything had gone exactly according to plan, you'd be totally done tonight, right?
Yeah, and normally you hang them for longer than we did, but with where we live and the facilities that we have, we just have to work with what we got.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot more comfortable. Just a week is fine, as long as you're leaving them in their major muscle groups. You're not really causing too much harm as far as making it tough. And it's only a 2-year-old cow too, so it's not like it's an old cow or like, an old deer that you would hang for 7 days, or a bear you would hang for 10 days. It's, it's just a 2-year-old grass-fed cow that we watched its whole life, so.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So he did all of the cuts. Those are all done. All the steaks and different parts are done. We're just working on the ground, which has been a little more difficult because every grinder we own is broken. So we'll be getting a new grinder tomorrow, and then we will officially be done.
So to make the smoke sticks.
Yeah, until he makes the Slim Jimmy smoke sticks, which will be a project.
You just think it'll be a project.
Almost 3 hours later, and we have 40 1-pound bundles of ground beef. One thing that my husband had been really, really excited to make and try are these. These are like Slim Jims, like they're just meat sticks, like you would find at the gas station or whatever. And to be honest, I was worried that they wouldn't work out, because I feel like when you make homemade junk food, it never turns out as good as like the packaged stuff. Like the bad food tastes better bad. But I tell you, these taste exactly like the meat sticks that you would get at the store. Like, they're phenomenal. I can't believe he nailed it on the first try. This is just one bag. He's made like 3 bags, I think, so far. And I think he has one more batch left. This is a Cajun kind. And he also made I think a teriyaki kind. Overall, the whole process, I would describe it as doable. I had been really nervous about the whole thing, about my husband doing it totally himself, because it just seemed so hard and labor intensive and difficult. But he totally rocked it. There were hiccups along the way, but I mean, he did it all, and all pretty much completely on his own. I know I didn't help much. But he did great. He totally did it, and he will totally do it again. So if you're thinking about it, it is doable. I mean, if you want to save $800 from taking it to a processor, like, you can totally do it yourself if you have the experience and if you research enough. I know that he looked at a lot of butchery videos on YouTube to just kind of learn more about the anatomy and different cuts and how to do that kind of stuff. And maybe one day he will share with you what he did to actually prepare for this huge adventure. But he did a really great job, and everything turned out phenomenal. I think the only thing that we did kind of expect, but didn't really expect, because he was like pasture raised and grass fed and out living his best life, some of the cuts are a little bit tougher than we had expected, but I think that might just be a little bit of trial and error with the cooking. The really high quality cuts are like perfect, like totally not tough. Like the filet mignon, oh my gosh, totally not tough at all. But some of the other ones, I don't know all the cuts, but they are a little bit on the tougher side, so you definitely don't want to overcook them. But that'll also be information that we share with people who we give the meat to, and just a little bit more of the learning curve with that. But it took about a week to be completely done with everything. And I guess going back, I was really happily surprised. Number one, the weather really was in our favor. We got a cold snap that weekend, so he was able to work outside a lot more than he would have if we had been in warmer weather. So it stayed really, really cold that weekend, which was a big help. He was able to cut everything down into manageable chunks so that they could fit. We have an outdoor refrigerator and freezer. We cleared out our family refrigerator and freezer. We have like a drink cooler that's like a little refrigerator, and we have a deep freezer. So between all of those, we were definitely able to fit everything in. That had been another thing we were really worried about. You definitely need another refrigerator and freezer, and especially for if you're keeping a lot of the meat, you need a deep freezer for sure. But we really didn't run into any huge logistic issues as far as that went, which was a really, really great surprise. Now I want to talk about how much we got. So again, he was 2 years old. And there's a lot of factors that go into how big he got and how much meat and fat and everything goes into that. Again, he was our very first meat cow. So we are going to do things differently moving forward. There's just a lot of things to think about. Like, we're still trying to figure out the best supplementation regime with him. You know, that can be so individualized to your area, what food your pasture has in it, like what grass and clover and all of that, and what they need. We also had really wanted to butcher him a little bit earlier than we did. We wanted to do it more in November timeframe. And my husband told me, but now I can't remember. There's like a time that you are supposed to do it. It's either when they are growing or when they aren't growing. I can't remember. But there's a window that we, just from everything that happened, we didn't get to butcher him and kill him in the time frame that we really wanted. So I don't think he had exactly the body composition we would have ideally wanted. I don't know a lot about that. I'll need to ask him again to explain it to me, but a lot of things to kind of think about with that. And he was a Holstein and Angus mix. Could have been all Holstein, kind of looks all Holstein, but who we got him from said he was half Holstein, half Angus. So he wasn't necessarily like a meat cow. We got him really cheap, a bottle baby. I think we paid like $40 for him 2 years ago. We definitely got our money's worth. And with our family, it's just the two of us are and our 2-year-old. So even with him not being a meat cow, we had more than enough, and we have shared with a bunch of different people. It's definitely, that's probably the route we'll go unless we want to get more specialized in like selling meat. Maybe we'll go, I know he wants to get longhorns, or I don't know. We'll see. But we were really happy with that. We didn't need anything special for these kind of trial years. But I have my little cheat sheet here. Okay, so what we got. I have here, I took really shorthand notes, so this might not be the most detailed, but for ribeyes, we got about 15 ribeyes. This is going to be complicated. I wish my husband was here to explain it. Because if you're not familiar with how you butcher things, depending, like with T-bones, those are New York strips and filet mignons. So depending on what you want, it will change what you get, if that makes sense. It probably does not. So we could have gotten 14 T-bones, but because we wanted more New York strips, we got 12 New York strips and 4 4 T-bones. This is going terribly. I might not know enough about this to explain it. Okay, so we got 4 T-bones, 12 New York strips, and 12 filet mignons. So that's what we got for that area. We ended up getting 2 briskets. I think originally we had thought we would half them for 4, but because of the size, he decided to keep them whole and just have like 2 big ones. We got about 8 pounds of short ribs. We would have gotten about 10 to 12 chuck steaks. But we don't use those a lot, so we ended up cutting, or turning some of that into ground, like in our ground meat, and then he made pastrami out of 5 pounds of that. We got 26 round steaks. I don't know what I wrote there. 12 eye of round, 14 sirloins, 4 flanks, 4 flat steaks, 2 tri-tips, 8 London broils, and 90 pounds of ground meat. And then he turned 20 pounds of that into like meat sticks, like smoky sticks. I hope that was a little bit helpful if this is something that you're interested in doing or thinking about doing for your family. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have. Just leave them in the comments or message me on my Instagram. I'm not sure what you want to know, but that was just kind of more information that we had been wondering, and that we had kind of wanted to know before doing it. But like I said, it was doable. If you think you can, you probably can. So thank you for watching. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask below or on my Instagram, and I will see you next week.